Sink or swim. It is entirely up to you. What is it? What's entirely up to you? And do you think, feel, or believe that things are entirely up to you? I wish that 40 years ago, maybe even longer. How old am I? No, I wish sooner than that. I wish 50 years ago, somebody would have sat me down and said, what you achieve in life, what you become, who you show up as, what you choose to do, how you feel, what you think, what you believe, it's 100% entirely up to you. I wish my parents would have sat me down when I was a 9-year-old kid and said, hey, you can do whatever, and they did do this. They did this through messages throughout the years, but never in a way that I actually internalized and got until I was much, much older. But I wish somebody would have said, listen, whether you sink or swim is entirely up to you. Whether you have a happy life or a sad life or a miserable life or a terrible life or an awesome life, it's entirely up to you. You get to choose and decide exactly what you want. And I wish somebody would have sat me down and told me that. I wish somebody would have sat me down and told me that humans overcomplicate everything. I wish somebody would have sat me down and told me all the things that I know now when I was a kid so that I could, and would I really? Probably not. I mean, everything, every experience that I've been through, every win, every loss, every trial, every tribulation, every struggle, every heartbreak, every death, everything has brought me to this moment right now and who I am right now, and that I can say with the utmost belief and confidence and knowing that everything that happens to me is for me, and it doesn't always feel that way, right? I mean, I'm going through some personal physical things and vision things that I don't think I would have wished on myself, and I don't know why, but for some reason, I haven't figured out the answer yet, but I know it's for my benefit. It's for me to grow and develop and change in ways that I don't yet understand. We get challenges like that all the time. We don't always understand the outcome until a lot of times years later, and then we realize that some of our biggest heartbreaks, our biggest disappointments were actually blessings in disguise, because what happened after ended up being much better for us than the thing that we thought we had our heart set on, that we think we wanted. And I have so many examples of that in my life. That's why I say this. But sink or swim, that was the topic of Supersize Your Business today. It's an idiom, of course, that comes from, it's a very old idiom, but think of people nowadays still toss babies in water, and that's how they teach them to swim. They throw them in the water, and then they float or not, and then they don't let them drown, but that's how they teach babies to swim. Well, they used to do it with witches. Remember, they would throw witches in the water, and now, unfortunately, if you were accused of witchcraft, you pretty much weren't going to survive that. You were going to either drown, which meant you were innocent and you weren't a witch, but you were still dead, or if you floated and swam, then of course the devil must have helped you. So you're going to get burned at the stake or hung or both anyway. So either way, there were situations outside of your control. However, were they really outside of their control? If you were behaving in ways that people suspected were of witchcraft, and again, those are other people, you were probably going to end up dead at some point because of this whole sink or swim and the way they tested for witchcraft thing. There was usually a no getting out of that scenario. Whereas nowadays, and most of the time, we humans, there's always infinite possibilities. There's always different options. A lot of times we don't feel like there are. If we're in a tough situation, so often we feel like we're the only one going through that, and that we're the only one that's had it as bad as we do right now, and no one on the planet could possibly understand what we're going through. One of the coolest things about the internet, I think, is that no matter what you're going through, good or bad, there's access to other people that are experiencing a very similar, if not the exact same identical thing, a very similar situation. And I'm not going to go into all the horrible things that can happen to us in our lives, but there are people that you can find that you can relate to that have had the same traumas, lost their parent, had a bad childhood, whatever. There are groups that you can find of people that can help you understand that you're not alone, and there's other people experiencing or who have experienced very similar, if not identical, things to you. And I think that there's help and relief in that knowing that we're never the only one. So sink or swim. I found that the older I get, the less I feel like I'm ever in that sink or swim situation. I think when we're starting something new, when we're younger, we feel like we're alone. We feel like we can't ask for help. We feel like it's do or die in a lot of situations. We make things black and white. And as we get older, we realize that there are so many shades in between black and white. There are so many infinite possibilities and different directions and different ways and different things that can happen. Almost nothing is actually black and white. And that reality, what we define as reality, what we believe is reality, is actually slightly different and skewed and unique for each one of us based on how we look at the world. And we always look at the world through the filter of our own thoughts and feelings and beliefs and past experiences. And that's how we look at our current situation. And that's how we look at the world. And that's how we see our reality. So I don't know, it's my little rant for today about, sinking or swimming, because I realize as I'm thinking about that expression and that idiom, really, once we commit to something, once we decide, once we choose what it is that we want, which incidentally, most people never do. I even still struggle sometimes with stating what I want in the more broad areas of my life. What do I want with respect to a relationship? I resist actually clarifying that, because I feel if I clarify that, then I have to deal with it. And I know that really sounds silly and kind of convoluted, but in certain areas of our life, we tend to do that. A lot of people refuse to set goals and objectives, or set goals and set that big goal. You don't even have to have all the details. You don't have to know how you're going to get something, but you do need to have that big picture, top of the mountain goal in mind of what you want and what you're moving toward, because that helps you to make all the little decisions, the day-to-day now decisions that move you toward that. If you don't, guess what? It's like, and everyone uses this analogy that in my world, it's like getting in the car, going on a trip, but not having a destination in mind. It was, pre-GPS days when you couldn't put in a location where you wanted to go, and then it would tell you step by step how to get there. I love GPSs for that, because it forces you to think with the end in mind. It forces you, like we should always be thinking, what do I want? What's my big goal? It always breaks down to first deciding, what do I want? What do I want? What do I want? What do I want? Ask yourself that all the time. When you're in a situation, you're going into a meeting, well, what do I want? What do I want the outcome to be at this meeting? Because if you go into a meeting or a conversation or a relationship with what you really want as the end result in mind, you don't have to know how you're going to get there. But I guarantee that if you go in with the outcome, and I'm going to vote for positive outcome that you want, you're much more likely to get that, or get a lot closer to that, than if you go in with no agenda, no end in mind. And I'm not saying have a manipulative agenda. No, just have a big picture of how you want the communication to go, how you want the meeting to go, what you want the outcomes to be. And if you know that, it's called what's it called? Setting intentions of how you want things to be and how you want things to go. Works really well. I learned this when I had to speak. I don't love public speaking, but over my career, especially in corporate America, I had to do a lot of presentations in front of big groups of people. And like most people, fear of public speaking is, that's like I think the number one fear of human beings, even more than death. Because I guess we figure death is inevitable, we're all going to die, so why be afraid of it? But public speaking, on the other hand, is a choice. We don't have to public speak ever, but we're going to die. We don't have a choice. And so to me, for a lot of people, death is less scary than speaking in public or speaking up. And I was the same way. And so I had to learn that, number one, I wasn't going to die. Even if you do a bad speech, even if people boo you, it's not going to kill you, right? You might just have your feelings hurt. But like everything else, it's just temporary. We can get over it. We can choose to get over it whenever we want. But I forgot my point, which is really embarrassing. It's what happens when you get older. You forget your point because you talk about other stuff and then you get off sidetracked and then you're like, what was I going to talk about public speaking? Something about prepping for speeches and public speaking. I'll come back to it. So, sink or swim. I think as we get older, we realize that, and we have more experience, realize that there's always options. There's always a choice. There's always another way of going about it. Now, unless we're living in our negative beliefs and our false beliefs and our fears. If we're living in blaming and judging and making things other people's fault, which is blaming, if we're looking for excuses, we'll always find them. But if we're actually taking personal responsibility and committed to something, there is nothing that can stop us from creating absolutely anything and everything that we want here in this life and on this planet. There's nothing. I mean, there's nothing, and we can argue that. I'd love to have a conversation about that. Maybe not if you don't believe any of it, because it would be too frustrating for me. Now, if you talked to me 30 years ago, 35 years ago, I would not have necessarily said that I believed that I had control over the majority of my life. I thought that outside forces, other people's opinions and things were very, very important. But I think over the years and with the experience, we grow and develop, and we go on our own little journeys to discover our own truth and what the truth is for us. And, you don't have to buy into my truth. Please don't take what I say as your truths. Go out and explore, and always ask yourself, does that feel right to me? Is what she's saying or anyone else saying, does that feel like it's true? Because there are things that are true for me that aren't true for other people, even other people in my family. For me, when I say you get what you expect, that is very true for me. Now, my ex-husband would argue, and will still argue with me to the death, that you don't get what you expect. There aren't things, you can't control things. Most things are outside of your control. I agree. Most things are outside of your control, but you always have the ability and the power to choose how you're going to respond and react to the things that are outside of your control. And guess what? The things that you react negatively to that are outside of your control, you attract more of those, and more of those things start showing up in your life. But if you go with the flow of life and you don't react negatively, and you can even react positively to the crazy things that happen around you and to you, right? And to people around you, you can have a totally different response, and then you can attract more things that give you that excited, happy, delighted, positive response, right? Works both ways. So, sink or swim. Sink or swim was it today. Today was day 23 already of doing one fun thing every day. We're talking about certainty, and that the only thing that is certain is that there is no certainty, right? The one thing we can count on is life is that it will always surprise us. Nothing is guaranteed. Life itself is not guaranteed. We could get hit by a car tomorrow, right? We could fall off a curb tomorrow and get splatted by a truck. We never know. And that's, I think, part of the delight and excitement of life is that but so often I catch myself sometimes just wasting time and just doing nothing, or, like I would say, watching Netflix, doing nothing. To me, watching TV and watching Netflix is wasting time and doing nothing. But every once in a while, my brain wants to shut down and just think about other things in the background and no-minded zone out and watch some Netflix or Hulu or whatever, popcorn time, whatever's out there these days. And I think sometimes we get in this mode where we feel like we have all the time in the world, yet because we forget that we really don't know. There's no guarantee how long we're going to be here. So I think if we all realize, and not in a scared way, but in an excited way, that we never know, so we should take advantage of the now. We should really be present and do what we can right now, because we don't know what the future will hold. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't vision and focus on and be aiming toward the big things that we do want. So it's up to you. Sink or swim, it's always up to you. And again, I would love to hear your thoughts on that. Do you believe that? Do you believe that whether you succeed or fail is entirely up to you? I can already hear, like, I think 90% of the population is screaming at me right now, saying, you are so full of it. That is totally not true. And here's all the evidence of all the bad things that have happened to me, and we're outside of my control, and why that's not true. So, whatever. So fun day, 365-day challenge, that. And then Monday, I'm starting a new challenge. I'm calling it the Live Thrive Challenge. Again, that doesn't feel exactly right for me, but right now that's what I'm going with, because I'm starting on Monday. So Monday, Live Thrive Challenge, teaching people how to create their own challenges to get the results that they want in their life and for themselves, and then for the people that they're here to serve, the people that they love and care about, or their customers. How to use challenges to help them get the result that they want, so that they can be attracted to you, so that you can get the result you want, and this continual improving cycle of upward achievement of goals and objectives, and overcoming obstacles and challenges and things that we think get in our way that we can totally blast out of the water in days, not years. That's all I've got today. I've got a 4-year-old coming in a few minutes. I'm excited to see her, and I got all kinds of things to get ready for this challenge, because I decided yesterday that I was going to do something a little different. And I love it that it's live because I can wait till the last minute and continue to make changes. And since it's live, I can make changes on the fly. And I like being able to do that too, because as I get new pieces of information, I got a new piece of information yesterday, and I'm taking out a whole segment of what I was doing in or planning to do in the challenge in the first place, and I am simplifying it, which is perfect divine timing, because I tend to overcomplicate things. I tend to put in way too much, and it overwhelms people. So I'm backing up and doing a different framework. That's it. If I can help you anyway, hit me up in the comments below. Otherwise, I will be with you tomorrow with another. What am I doing as I transition from the brick and mortar world and the corporate world of business to the online world of business? Every single day, because I can't see to write very well, so I might as well just talk it out, and then I've captured it for my own learning and education and posterity. All right, have a great day.